Great. Now we're stuck in a freaking nightmare. I thought this guy was in hell. Why am I stuck in his dream world? Well, since we're stuck here, I guess I should tell you guys about... In 1984, the late and great Wes Craven directed and written A Nightmare on Elm Street. Released on November 9th with a budget of $1.8 million, it earned $57.1 million back at the box office. In the small town of Springwood, Ohio, we follow four teens as a sinister figure haunts them in their dreams. And if they die in their dreams, they die for real. First off, the cast. The cast of the movie is fantastic. Ronnie Bakley, Amanda Wyss, Nick Corey. Pretty sure I said all those names wrong. We got the late John Saxon here, and of course this is Johnny Depp in his first big screen role. But of course the two who really make this film is Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund as Nancy Thompson and Freddy Krueger. I'm sorry. Fred Krueger. No Freddy. He's not Freddy yet. He won't be Freddy until part 3. Along with Jason and Michael and Chucky and Pinhead, maybe Wishmaster. Freddy is one of the great icons of horror. But what made Freddy so different than the two that came before him, he isn't a mask or silent killer. He doesn't carry a chef's knife or machete. Freddy was known for his big, bombastic, sadistic personality, which was brought to life by the amazing Robert Englund. Or Englund? Though that's not originally the case, Craven was originally going to go with a more traditional slasher. He was going to have some big, some kind of a big older guy. He's probably going to wear some kind of mask. But after Englund edition, he fell in love with the performance and the energy that he brought to the character. And Freddy is just freaking creepy. Like, everything about Freddy is creepy. The nasty burned flesh, the hat, his voice, how his sweater just pops, and of course his glove. Several gloves were made during production, one sharp, one non-sharp, and plastic. Not sure why I want to mention that. Craven drew upon many inspirations when creating the Springwood slasher. The name, Freddy Krueger, came from an old school bully of his. The dirty fedora came from this time when Craven was also a little boy. He looked out his window, and there was this old creepy dude walking down the street. He stopped and started staring at him. Craven kind of ducked under, he went back. The guy was still staring at him like for a while. And of course the clawed glove, which came from, I think he said, watching his cat, because he was determined to do something different than than a kitchen knife. He wanted to do something cool and was more weird and unique than a glove with knives at the fingertips. Though of course probably the more interesting is the idea of Freddy being the nightmare killer. During the 1980s, there was this weird phenomenon going around where a bunch of Southeast Asian refugees from Hmong, I'm butchering this country's name. Bunch of these people, especially the young men, were dying in their sleep. In one of these cases, one of these boys, he was terrified to go to sleep. He was convinced that there was someone in his dreams that was coming to kill him. He would do everything he could to stay awake at night. He had a coffee pot in his room under his bed, and he was just convinced that if he goes to sleep, he's going to die. Then one night, his parents, they finally got him to go to sleep. They brought him to his room. Sometime later, they heard him screaming bloody murder. They go up to check on him, and he's dead. He just died, and no one knows exactly why this happened from far as I can tell. That horrifying stories that inspired Freddy Krueger, because Jason and Michael and other normal type of slashers, you can eventually outrun them. I mean, you probably can outrun them. You could probably kill them, maybe bargain. There's chances to escape. There's chances to survive, but everybody needs to sleep. I mean, you can leave Camp Crystal Lake. You can leave Haddonfield, but everyone, even this demon, they have to sleep. And that's where you're the most vulnerable. Another aspect about Freddy that I feel like it should, also probably shouldn't be mentioned, is his MO. So in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, as Marge put it, Freddy was a sadistic child murderer who killed about 20 children in the town before he was eventually caught. There was a trial and everything, but because of the Dagon judicial, but due to those Dagon laws, that there was something wrong in the search warrant, and Freddy was set free almost immediately. A bunch of the parents of the dead kids followed him. They found out his place where he used to work and torched him up. Now, Freddy is only mentioned being a serial killer in the original films, but he was supposed to be a little darker. In the original script, which that's what I've been hearing, I have not actually read the script yet. I'm not sure why. In the original script, Freddy was mentioned to being a... Can I still say this word on YouTube? He liked to do other things with his children. I guess that's all I can say. And this aspect of Freddy was heavily downplayed when the film was eventually made, because there were a lot of cases of children being abused like that, and they didn't want to feel like they were, marketing on that. They didn't want to feel like they were taking advantage of those stories, which was probably in good taste. I'm not exactly sure. This version of Freddy, this idea of him being more than just a killer of children, was later introduced into the remake in 2010 with a very mix of results. And I'm not sure how I want to talk about this, because it's not really supposed to be there. But now, after knowing that about the character for such a long time now, you can really see it in the movies, especially the first one, Chasing Nancy. There is this weird tension there, and it just crawls, and it gives me an extra nasty chill under my skin. But a villain is only as great as their hero, and Nancy is a great foil to Freddy. She's smart, resourceful, ready to help her friends no matter what. There's a strength to Nancy that Langerkamp brings to the role that I can't quite put into words. And not to diss on any of the other actors in this movie, because they all do a fantastic job, but there's a genuineness that Langerkamp brings to Nancy that it just feels so real. I never feel like I'm watching a performance with her. It just feels so natural. I love Nancy. She's one of my favorite final girls. She's one of my favorite characters in horror. She's one of my favorite characters in cinema. The movie tries to pull a psycho on us. For the first act, we follow Tina, thinking she's the lead, until... Tina's death is one of the best in the franchise. How he stalks and fucks with her before cutting back to the real world, her bleeding out as she's dragged up the ceiling. The crew built a spinning room and put the furniture on the ceiling. Tina's actor sells that she's pinned there. She sells the pain and fear in that scene when she's cut and levitating in the air and she's being dragged across the ceiling, or crawling technically. Like, you can feel all that pain, you feel that fear, the music, Rod screaming for her in the corner. It just feels sick. It feels, it's nothing but fear, and I love it. I probably watched this film close to 100 times now, and this scene never fails to freak me out. Like, even when I know what's coming, I never feel a familiarity with this. It always is just perfectly nasty. The spinning room was used again, this time for Glenn's death. I love the little build up, the mini nightmare that Nancy has with the weird tongue going out of the phone, her trying to reach Glenn, he's just falling asleep, like he can't help it, he's tired, and then Jesus Christ, what did Freddy do to him? This is a striking visual. How can you not love it? Also, fun fact, the spinning room malfunctioned while they were filming, creating this weird tilting effect on the blood that makes it even more odd and horrifying. It feels like it shouldn't happen. It helps with this uncanny feeling of it, like it's supposed to be a dream. I love all the deaths in this movie. The Rod is a little odd because Fred tries to make it look like he off himself, while Fred would later do this in other movies, but in here he made every death look very supernatural. I don't really get it. Also, wouldn't the police feel suspicious on how Rob, decided to take himself out? I mean, the bed sheet, okay, understandable, but the bed sheet went far beyond his little cell bars. That doesn't really make any sense. The small little subplot, if you want to call it that, of Nancy's parents' broken relationship, I like it, but I think it could have done a little better. Dad is always working, mom is drinking 24/7. Like, there's a real broken home there that's never fully driven into. Now, I heard rumors, but I think it's been confirmed by now, that it was mentioned in a earlier script that Nancy, Glenn, Tina, Rod all had older siblings that were killed by Freddy, but for some reason it was cut out, which would make a lot of sense on why they were they were the ones who burned Freddy. It would make a lot of sense why he's specifically coming after these kids and not anyone else. Charles Bernstein created the iconic music, that haunting, almost childlike theme just sticks in your head. Like, it seems like it's like, kind of fairy tale-ish, and then all of a sudden it gets weird, it gets creepy, like the darkness that suddenly interjects itself. I also wanted to give a brief mention to Jacques Hacken, who was cinematographer of this film, who sadly passed away in 2023. The first Nightmare, I think all of the movies have pretty good shots to it, but at least the very first Nightmare has this very, I'm gonna say again, odd feel to it. Like, sometimes it just feels like a dream, and when you get to those moments where the dream world and reality start to intersect, when they start to bleed into each other, you don't know if you're awake, you're asleep, you don't know what's real, you don't know what's fantasy. Like, the choice to open the film after title sequence with that bright whiteness behind Tina, it's such a boom in your face visual. You also got other great parts where Nancy sees her house all iron barred up for the first time, when she goes out to look after Rod in her dream. It feels like a sound stage, but in that cool way where it's like all these are props. Like, Nancy is going to this stage in her imagination. Like, it's, as I'm not sure, I can't really explain it, but I just love the way how he makes everything feel real but also not real. The look of Freddy's boiler room is like diving into hell itself. Is old, rusted, burning hot. Like, you can feel the filth and grime on it while watching. I love the finale of this film. About around the third act, Nancy learns that she has the ability to pull things out of her dreams. Her big plan is to pull Freddy out of her dream and have her father take him in. She goes full badass and booby traps her entire house, then goes into the dream on her own accord to find the bastard and pull him out. I love this girl. She is such a badass. I have mixed feelings on Fred being so weak and pathetic outside of the dream, but it works on the theme of Freddy being a boogeyman, that he's taking fear, that he's taking power from the fear of his victims. So when Nancy's no longer afraid of him, he's really weak. Like, it makes sense. Also, you can also take it as a commentary on the type of killer and predator that Freddy is. That they go after children, most vulnerable of our society. What kind of pathetic coward does that? How weak are they truly? And when Freddy melts away, when she denies him, when she takes back all her fear, all the energy she gave him, the effect is it's very dated, but I like it. It fits with the, like I said, the weirdness of the film, the dream-like quality. Now, with the ending of the movie, with it being revealed, or at least up to interpretation, I think it's more up to interpretation. Like, you can interpret the film as it being Nancy's dream, like the whole film was Nancy's dream, or that Nancy was able to change reality and bring her friends back. You can take it as that, or you can go with face value that Nancy's still stuck in the nightmare. But Craven really did want a happy ending for this film, which producer Rob Shea he convinced Craven to go with the current ending, which has that horrible doll effect. When Wes was coming up with the idea of A Nightmare on Elm Street, he shopped it around a bunch of places, like Universal. He shopped it to Universal. Universal didn't want it. He shopped it to Disney. Disney was interested, but they wanted to make it more PG. And the only people at the time would take it was New Line Cinema. Now, New Line Cinema wasn't the New Line Cinema we know it today. New Line Cinema back then was a very, very small distribution. They got the movie out their company, and Robert Shea, the head of New Line, he really believed in the film, and he put everything he could to get the film made. Him and Craven, I think they had to go to other people just to get the finances to put the movie together. And as you can tell from the box office, I said at the beginning of the video, the movie did very, very well. Like, for the longest time, even now, New Line Cinema is known as the house that Freddy built, because if it wasn't for A Nightmare on Elm Street, New Line Cinema probably would have went bankrupt or would have been bought by another company. I mean, they were bought by other companies, but after they became big and successful. It was Robert Shea who convinced Craven to add in the jump scare at the end of the film. Of course, he knew that the movie was probably going to be very, very big, and he wanted sequels. Craven didn't want a sequel, but eventually he caved and we got the ending that we did. Now, should I thank Robert Shea? Yeah, technically, because without him telling Craven to put that in, we wouldn't have the franchise we have today. We wouldn't have Freddy Krueger as we have him today. But individually, not paying attention to the franchise as a whole, it's a very bad ending. The film would have been much better off as a happy ending, or maybe just a small suggestion that maybe Freddy's was real, like having the jump rope girls, or to show the colors of Freddy on the car, or maybe have a human looking Freddy watching Nancy and her friends, they drive away. No, you could have done something a little better than the blow up doll through the window. But yeah, this is A Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's one of my favorite films of all time. A near perfect movie for me, and it's one that I can't help but love. Every time I watch it, it holds my attention each time I put it in, and it never fails to scare me, which is what you want in a good horror film, right? But Freddy would eventually come back. Now, the sequels, on the other hand, those are kind of a mixed bag, but we'll get to those eventually. I'm Hanyo, you're Demon Cinephile, and hey, why don't you all have some nightmares for me and for Fred? It's been a while since we've seen him, and maybe, just maybe, if we dream hard enough, he'll come back. I mean, he always does.